All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachakudash. Love, honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. All right, just going to go into the book of Tobit, the first chapter. I've been reading this book, and it's a very edifying book, very spiritual book that represents the tribulation and the trials that we go through. Lord willing, we're the men of the Lord, and the elect that get delivered. Those elect men are going to go through times that try a man's patience. And so let me go ahead and start off with Ecclesiasticus, the second chapter. All right, this is going to be more of an impromptu lesson. Aparatazas edifying. All right. This is Sirach chapter 2, verse 4. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. All right. And, when you read the book of Tobit, he was changed to a low estate. And so it was all for righteousness' sake. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and get that in the book of Hebrews. Okay. And the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is, allowing his word to flourish. Okay. We're going into history. We're going into the actual Hebrew language. We're going into the prophecies, of course. And so knowledge is being increased. And that prayer that Yahushai prayed in John 17 chapter, asking the Most High to keep the word that he gave to us, that he gave to his men, beginning with the apostles, is being fulfilled. Okay, we're being brought back into the knowledge of who we are by pure way of remembrance, something that was already within us that's being stirred up, it's being activated. And so that's why, the Spirit of the Lord is on us the way it is. And so Hebrews chapter 10 and let's see here, verse 35, it says, cast not away therefore your confidence, which hath great recompense of reward. Okay. And so this is a scripture that reminds us that we ought not to get too tied up in what's right here in front of our face, and make sure that our minds are focused towards the goal, the end goal. Okay. And so we know that every individual day is a battle. All right. And the conclusion of the war is basically the sum of all the battles that you win. All right. Day by day, being in this truth, this being a spiritual war. I was actually looking for Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 10, going into suffering for righteousness' sake. And matter of fact, I'll start at verse 8. But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. Going into how the Most High chastens his sons. All right, he disciplines his sons in order to invoke fear and reverence of him within them, so that they can be obedient to his will. It says, verse 9, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall not we much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? And so that obedience is going to bring to us, is going to allow life to be preserved within us in a time where death is extremely close around the corner. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this precept right here in Sirach verse 9, Sirach chapter 19, verse 19. The knowledge of the commandments of Yahweh is the doctrine of life. Okay. Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments through the Spirit is the doctrine that's going to lead to life. okay? Away from the ways of death, the ways of this world. And they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. And so the fruit of the tree of immortality is eternal life, okay? It is what Israel has been seeking for this whole time. And so that's why it's so important to maintain on the path that Yahweh Shem Yahshai has us, if we do call ourselves of the hopeful elect, okay? We want to get out of these carnal bodies. And so starting at Tobit chapter 1, which we're just gonna, Lord willing, I'll be able to get through the whole chapter. There's a lot of history going into this book. You have to be somewhat familiar with the kingdoms, that Daniel, the 7th chapter, talks about, okay? And so I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it. So first of all, so Tobit, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was translated from Greek. And so a lot of these names in here are translated from the Greek transliteration, okay, of how they were originally pronounced in Hebrew. And so Tobit is really in the Hebrew pronounced Tawabia, okay, Tawabia, which I have written here in the Hebrew, if you can see that. Okay, Tawab means good, and then the Ya and the Ha at the end of Tawab is an abbreviated form or shortened form of the name of the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh. So it would be Tawab, good, Ya, Yahweh, okay? And so the Most High is good, or you say Yahweh is good. Now, this is Tobit chapter 1, all right, and verse 1. The book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Ananiel, the son of Aduel, the son of Gabael, of the seed of Asael, of the tribe of Naphtali. Now we know Naphtali is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And so if we go to, you know what? I'm not going to get that yet because we're going to go, well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and show the map real quick just to get a brief understanding of the different tribes, allotments of the land, of the lands of the different tribes. So in the back of my sword, I have basically a map with all of the land areas of the 12 different tribes of Israel, which in this map, the land that belonged to Naphtali is in orange right here, above the Sea of Galilee. Now that's according to this depiction. And so I'm going to keep reading here. It says, verse 2, who in the time of Enemeser, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali and Galilee, above Asher, okay, the tribe of Asher. Now, in this image, more of the lands that are highlighted are really next to Asher, okay, and so could be referring to the actual height, of the lands that were in that of the mountain ranges and everything that was in that area. Not exactly sure on that, but as for the land of Naphtali, it was in the north. Okay, now Thisbe, which is the city that he said he was from, which is where it's believed Elijah the Tishbite was from. I believe that word is Thabash in the Hebrew. All right, that was closer towards the east, kind of closer towards East Manasseh, really, where you see in the brown. That was where the city Thisbe was located. Okay, like towards the southeast of Galilee. And so the reason why I'm bringing all this out is, like I said, you really have to understand maps to a certain degree and geography in order to really get the picture of what is being said and understand the setting. When you first read a story, of a fiction book, for example, they create this. The first thing that the author does is creates the setting, and so that's exactly what's going on here, letting us know exactly what time we're in, where, what place, and so on and so forth. And so it says, verse 2, who in the time of Enemeser, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali and Galilee above Asher. Now, this is also telling you what period of time it was. Okay, the time of Enemeser, king of the Assyrians. Okay, and so Naphtali was led out by Enemeser, king of the Assyrians, into Assyria. Okay, and so it says here I have actually a timeline, okay, of basically the time from David to Zerubbabel. Okay, so when the basically the throne of Israel was established, you can't see that, up until the time that the second temple was rebuilt. Now, get a little closer. This time that we're talking about, that we're reading about, is around the time of 700 AD. If you look right here, okay, and then it's this red line right here is letting you know this is the time of the Assyrian invasion of the northern tribes, and the northern tribes being led into Assyria. And you can see down here there's a yellow bar. There's like yellow and dark yellow bars of, it says the kings of Assyria, if you can see that, and then it lists the names. Now, you're not gonna see Enemeser in the so-called canon, the Old Testament. What you are gonna see is Sargon, which is written right here. I don't know if you brothers can see that. Sargon the second, that is Enemeser. Okay, that's Enemeser, because it goes into the succession, the line of succession afterwards. So this is how we know. So we're reading during the time of Isaiah and during the time of Micah, and right after the time of Oded. Okay, and some of these prophets, they didn't have their own books that served. Well, I'll say that the books didn't survive till now, but we're gonna get all that stuff back in the kingdom, Lord willing. So during the time of Isaiah and Micah is Tobit is a contemporary with those men. So now that we have some backdrop, verse 3 says, I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. Okay, now he's basically going into what had befallen him up until this point. Okay, and he was a man of the Lord. He was doing his spiritual duties. It says, verse 4, and when I was in mine own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal. Now what this is going into is the split, okay, when the kingdom was divided into the northern and the southern kingdoms after the time of Solomon. You had Rehoboam, who continued the line of David and continued to reign on the throne, who was the son of Solomon. And then you had Jeroboam, okay, the son of Nebat, basically who started a tradition of idol worship all throughout the northern tribes, which is why the northern tribes, they got brought into captivity first before the southern tribes did, because basically they were going off more so faster. They started going off faster, quicker than the southern. Both of the kingdoms went off, but the northern tribe, they was really going off. Like every king was wicked, of the kings of Israel, according to the scriptures. So keep reading here. But you have some righteous, just like now, out of all the tribes. It says in what, Revelation, the 14th chapter, if I'm not, no, actually, I'm sorry, the 7th chapter. Revelation, the 14th chapter talks about the elect, but Revelation, the 7th chapter talks about the 12,000 out of each tribe, right? Yeah, the 12,000 out of each tribe. And so out of that, out of those tribes, okay, there were still men basically that kept their integrity, even though the other portion of their tribe, the specific tribes, was going off. The majority of them was going off. Verse 6, but I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feasts, and as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of increase with that which was firstborn, which was first shorn. And them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron. Now, Tobit, being a son of Naphtali, being a descendant of Naphtali, was part of the northern kingdom. However, after the Assyrian captivity, after the Assyrian gathering of the northern tribes, okay, he still continued to basically do the work. He still continued to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, okay, which is a noble thing, all right? And that's really what you see the men of the Lord doing, all right, in the midst of, all sorts of lewdness, in the midst of all sorts of slanderings, okay, we still keep our integrity. And we know that the man Job was an excellent example of how to keep your integrity, all right, even when you're going through hell and being persecuted, okay. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this scripture real quick in Job verse 13, okay, and verse 14. It says, wherefore do I take my flesh in my teeth and put my life in mine hand? Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain mine own ways before him. He also shall be my salvation, for an hypocrite shall not come before him. And so to say that you serve the Lord, but then go off to worship other gods would make you a hypocrite, okay? And we all know that hypocrites are a detestable thing in the Most High's eyes, because you are basically portraying yourself to be a clean man. You're portraying yourself to be a man that is noble, okay? But in reality, the Most High, who sees all, sees that you are not the man who you portray yourself to be amongst the people. And so Job kept his integrity even when he was lowered into a position of basically complete humiliation and punishment. He still kept his integrity towards the Most High. And when you read the book of Tobit, it goes into the same thing, how the hell that he caught, with the bird dung basically falling in his eye. He became blind, but he still prayed to the Most High. He didn't curse the Most High. And so it all circles back, man, to the elect, not being, found with any guile in their mouths. All right. And so going back here to Tobit 1, and by the way, the 10th part of all the increases according to the law, given that to the sons of Aaron, okay, was part of the law that all the tribes were supposed to do. All right, and he continued in it. It says, the first 10th, verse 7, the first 10th part of all increase I gave to the sons of Aaron who ministered at Jerusalem. Another 10th part I sold away and went and spent it every year at Jerusalem. And the third I gave unto them to whom it was meet, as Deborah, my father's mother, had commanded me, because I was left an orphan by my father. Furthermore, when I was come, so even the women, by the way, even the women back then were more righteous than now, okay? Because a woman nowadays, even if it is your grandmother, she at best maybe a churchgoer, okay? And you know how bugged out that is. Well, back then our women, you know, the women of the nation of Israel were more spiritual, you know, than they are now, okay? But even, you know, even back then, they still, you know, of course they weren't perfect by any means, but they were at least more knowledgeable towards the Most High than now, man. Now these women are just completely out of order. It says, verse 8, and the third I gave unto them whom it was meet, as Deborah my father's mother, who was his grandmother, had commanded me, because I was left an orphan by my father. So it shows you the father was basically the head of the household, okay? And if the father wasn't present, okay, if the father had died, then you still had someone in the family to take care of that son, or to take care of the daughter until they became an adult, okay? And so, you know, very, very close family oriented back then, as opposed to now. You know, everything's backwards here, man. Verse 9, furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Anna of mine own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias. All right, so when he became of the age of a man, basically when he was able to produce seed, he married a young woman, okay, and had a baby with her, okay, and that's how it's supposed to be too, man. You know, all of this reading the customs of Israel in the scriptures shows you how far off we are from where we're supposed to be, okay? It gets you out of that westernized mentality of, you know, just going out to a party and meeting a girl that's already been ran through. You got double digits body count, triple digit body count. It's just a sad thing, man. But 2/3 of our people, they don't even look at this place like a place that has to go, because they don't even know about the law, statutes, and commandments, and they don't even know about the heritage that our people had back then, man. You know, our people actually read the law and kept the law back then, okay, and lived up to some sort of standard, as opposed to now. This place got to go, man. Esau ruined everything. It says, verse 7. Actually, verse 10. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, okay. So this is the part where he was carried away captive. So before that, even though he was not necessarily under the rulership of the Assyrian king Manasseh yet, he was going out to Jerusalem and doing what he was supposed to do, was making the sacrifices to the Most High before they went out. So let me make that correction. But this is now he's getting this. We're at this point of the map here. I mean, of the timeline here. This red line where Israel is carried into captivity. Okay. So it says, verse 10. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. Okay. And that's exactly what the scriptures say in the book of Ezekiel, which Ezekiel hadn't prophesied this yet, okay, because he wasn't born yet, but during this time at least. But the scriptures say that we were going to eat our bread defiled amongst the Gentiles, which Ezekiel was prophesying mainly to the southern kingdom anyway, who was still in the land at that time, if I'm not mistaken. Well, shoot, not really, barely, yeah, we barely had anybody over there. I mean, yeah, we had Jerusalem. Technically, the temple wasn't destroyed yet, but it was right there, right around that same time. Let me see, what's that? Ezekiel 13. And 10. Oh, I'm tripping. Ezekiel, is it 14? Okay, Thought it was in Ezekiel 13 or 14. I'll have to go back and find it. Yeah, I thought I had it highlighted. Anyway, I'll put it in the description box, Lord willing. All right, so it says, and we ate defiled, and we ate defiled bread amongst the heathen. Verse 10, it says, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. Verse 11, but I kept myself from eating. Okay, so he abstained from pork, all right, all types of imaginable meats, all right, that the Assyrians said that it was okay to eat. He stayed away from that, all right, because we're a holy people, separate people, not supposed to eat that madness. It says, because I remembered the Most High with all my heart. And that is exactly the mindset that we, as the hopeful elect in Babylon, in captivity, need to always maintain, okay? Not letting the norm of being a nigger overthrow your mind from this truth. Meaning not succumbing to the status quo of, how you should live, how America says you should live, and going against and forgetting the heritage that the Most High gave you through the scriptures, okay? We ought to remember Yahweh Shem Yashai in all of our doings, okay? And so that's why, I'm doing this lesson. It says, because, verse 12, because I remember the Most High with all my heart, and the Most High gave me grace and favor before Enemeser, so that I was his purveyor. And when you go into a purveyor, it's somebody who prepares the kitchenware, basically somebody who is overseeing that type of stuff, most stuff going on in the kitchen, and like household stuff, basically. Looked up the definition earlier. And so it says, and by the way, the Most High is going to give us grace in the sight of whoever is necessary to receive grace from in that time that we're coming into, if it's beneficial for the gospel, all right? If it's beneficial for his word and for his work, okay? The Most High is going to protect you and keep you, okay? And by the way, we're talking about a whole group of people being rounded up. See, matter of fact, let me get it in Second Kings, in the history real quick. And say you gotta have some type of basic understanding of the history. All right, Second Kings 17. All right, which goes into the history of Israel being taken away captive. Okay, and so you see here, Hosea. Yep, this is right around the time. All right, so I'm gonna read 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 6. In the 9th year of Hosea, all right, if you look here right underneath my finger, okay, you got Hosea right here, and this is the carrying away into Assyria for the northern kingdom. All right, so he was Hosea, Salakia. This Hosea, this is Hosea the prophet, Salakia. This red right here is Hosea. Okay, basically the last real king to sit on the throne in the northern kingdom. All right, and it says in the 7th year, which was, he didn't reign very long, so this is like right there on the cusp. It says, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria. So you got to know where Assyria is, and you have to know where Samaria is. All right, the area where the northern tribes of Israel dwelt was known as Samaria. Okay, me see. I'm trying to see, there's a illustration. Okay. Yeah, there's not much of a illustration on here, but basically, if you go back to the map, all right, maps are great. Maps are really good, very important. If you go back to the map, basically all of this area would be known as Samaria. Okay, and then Assyria, which I don't have a map of either in this book, is basically to the east of Samaria. Okay, so let's see. So it says, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed him in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes. Okay, and so if I drop down to verse 18, it says, therefore, matter of fact, I'll read verse 16. And they left all the commandments of Yahweh their power, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven, and served Baal. All right, so Jake was going way off, man, worshiping these other gods, making molten images, graven images, golden images, and bowing down themselves to them, as it's written right here in Tobit. All right, we're just getting the precept, getting the account and the history of what happened back then. Because, like I said, you know, when you come into the truth, man, you know, you got to learn all the history. You know, Esau don't teach you this in school, and so you have to actually go in there and read it for yourself and see this is our true history. You know, and we learn more by the day, man, through the Spirit. It says, and therefore Israel was verse 18. Therefore Yahweh was, I skipped verse 17. Verse 17 says, and they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of Yahweh, to provoke him to anger. Therefore Yahweh was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight, and there was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Okay, and so the Most High was wroth with the children of Israel, and basically he removed the 10 tribes out of there, man. Okay, out of the land. All right, and had scattered them, man, scattered them all across the world. Because it says in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, how they went over there, over here to the North and South America. Okay, over on this side of the Western Hemisphere, known as Azareth, if I'm not mistaken, or Arsareth. And so, you know, that's another story. But going back to Tobit, all right, it just shows you we gotta be understanding of what was going on. You know what I'm saying? These nations, particularly in this time, the Assyrian captivity, the Assyrian nation, the Assyrian empire was in a violent state. All right, basically killing anyone who was resistant to the authority. All right, they were taking over lands, man. Okay, when you read in the books of Judges and the books of in the book of Numbers, what was going on during the conquerings of those lands in the land of Canaan. Okay, we were commanded to kill all the men, you know, and so he was Tobit. The point is, Tobit was under the threat of imminent death, just like how we're gonna be under the threat. We pretty much are at any time. Esau can come kick the door down and come in there and shoot us down, and won't think twice about it. You know, the Most High could have us get killed many ways. All right, but he's going to preserve those men in those days. That's the point. I was going to get that in Psalms 91, but you can just read it. Psalms 91 goes into that. And so Tobit, back in Tobit chapter 1, let me see. I was at verse 13. And the Most High gave me grace and favor before Enemeser, so that I was his purveyor. And I went into Media and left in trust with Gabael, the brother of Gabrius, at Rages, a city of Media, 10 talents of silver. Now when Enemeser was dead, Sennacherib, his son, reigned in his stead. So now, and this is how we know that Enemessar and Sargon II are the same person, because it says Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, which it matches up. And this is just a timeline, you know, but you can just Google it. I mean, the timeline was created from information that's available to everyone. Okay, Sennacherib, I know it's hella small. Okay, but Sennacherib, boom, right there, Sennacherib, which is right during the time of the Assyrian captivity. Okay, Sennacherib, his son reigned in his stead. So let's read a little bit about Sennacherib. It says, Sennacherib, let me see, verse 15. Sennacherib, his son, reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Media. Okay, so basically, it was some type of shakiness. What's the word I'm looking for? Instability going on in the government. All right, to where he wasn't able to, you know, pass borders the way that he basically needed to. Okay, it says, and in the time of Enemessar, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. So what did he have? A genuine love for his people, man. Okay, he was what you would call now today a racist. He was for his nation. Okay, and so whenever he would see our people in a position of, you know, hell, basically under the captivity of these heathen, he would have compassion on them and do what he could to be a brother. You know, another attribute that we ought to take from this and apply it to ourselves, apply it to our daily lives, you know, because we are in captivity in a strange land, and, you know, our true brothers, you know what I'm saying, through the Spirit, you know, we need each other, man. So it says, verse 18, and if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily, for in his wrath he killed many, but the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king. All right, so basically Sennacherib, he would have people get killed, he would order them to be put to death. All right, and what Tobias would do, instead of leaving them out in the street for their bodies to rot, okay, he would, according to the law again, bury the bodies. All right, and you know, of those who were of his nation. Okay, all right, being a brother. Okay, and so it says, verse 19, and when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king, all right, and Nineveh was known for basically being a heavily populated city of heathen, melting pot basically type city. All right, and when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king, that I buried them, and hid himself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear. All right, right, because basically Sennacherib was looking to put Tobit to death because he was burying the men. He didn't, you know, leave them out there in the street. Okay, and so we could see that on every side, it seems like Tobit is getting punished for doing the will of the Most High, but in reality, man, Yahweh Shem Yahshua is viewing all of this and seeing that it is something to admire. Okay, he didn't get, well, as you read the book, you know, he didn't get overly emotional, okay, and basically compromise what Yahweh Shem Yahshua had in store for him. Okay, and so it says, verse 20. It says, then all my goods were forcibly taken away, neither was there anything left me beside my wife Anna and my son Tobias. So they basically took everything that he had. All right, they took whatever cattle he had, his house. You know, you can imagine back then if you actually had the ability to give talents, I would assume talents of silver, you know, put that away, you know, and say, hey, you know, bro, can you hold this for me? You know what I'm saying? For a rainy day. Okay, that's some type of wealth. He had some type of wealth. So they took all that away, which is America. In this place, we're gonna see that. We're gonna see our goods. Matter of fact, what's that? In 2nd Ezra, 16th chapter, one page over. 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 71 says, "They shall be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh." So Esau, self-proclaimed white man, in these times is going to spoil. When you spoil someone, you basically rob them. You steal. You take their stuff. Okay, take possession of it, and you seize their belongings. Okay, and that's what Esau's going to do, and he's going to also try to kill us, just like how it's written here in Tobit, man. All right, these similarities are not a coincidence. Okay, these other nations want to put us to death. It says, and there, let me see, verse 21, Tobit 1 and 21, "And there passed not 50 days before 2 of his sons killed him, and they fled into the mountains of Ararat, and Sarchedonus, his son, reigned in his stead." And so again, and by the way, so what we have is Sennacherib got put to death. All right, the Most High put him to death by his own sons. All right, show you how low level these heathen are. All right, but that one who ruled in the stead of Sennacherib is let's see, Sarchedonus, which is Esarhaddon, which is right here, the yellow right here. Okay, right after Sennacherib. All right, and so that's what's going on right around this time. All right, you have multiple kings in the Assyrian captivity, kept dying and getting put to death, and so here's the sum of the whole matter right here. All right, verse 21 in the middle, "And Sarchedonus, his son, reigned in his stead, who appointed over his father's accounts, and over all his affairs, Achiacharus, my brother, Anael's son." So basically, you know, his nephew got put in a high position, all right, by the son of the same man who was seeking to kill Tobit, all right. And Achiacharus, entreating for me, I returned to Nineveh. Now Achiacharus was cupbearer and keeper of the signet, and steward and overseer of the accounts. So his nephew was in a high position. So what did he do? It said he entreated for him. Basically, he asked the king, the new king, "Hey, king, you know my uncle, you know what I'm saying, you take that hit off his head that your father put on there," basically, you know, and that's what happened. It says, "And Sarchedonus appointed him next unto him, and he was my brother's son." So that in itself shows you that the Most High is faithful. Matter of fact, and I ended up on this because I just want to go into the Tobit, the first chapter. The Most High is faithful unto those that maintain their integrity, all right, and unto those that basically seek Him for help, okay? Because you know he's praying, all right, probably fasting. Okay, when he had a hit out on him, he was an enemy of the state for righteousness' sake. Okay, but let me go ahead and get this real quick, and I'll close off on this, Lord willing. 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. It says, "Therefore hath no temptation taken you, but as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. Okay? And so the temptation that you may go through is not some temptation that is meant for you to fall. Okay? The temptation that you go through, the trialing times, is basically to test your patience and your faith, all right, in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And in the end, he's going to deliver you from that temptation. And so, Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. With that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory due unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Shem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.